Welcome back to On Texas Basketball. I'm Jeff Howe, joined by Gerry Hamilton. Going to talk a little Longhorn hoops today. This edition brought to you by Advanced Pain Care. We'll tell you more about Advanced Pain Care later in the show with the help of a couple of lifetime Longhorns. Gerry, let's get to it. We've known it was going to happen for a while, but it was official this week. Texas is going to open the Sean Miller era in Charlotte against Duke November 4th at the Spectrum Center. It's part of the Dick Vitale Invitational. Gerry, for regime openers, it doesn't get much bigger than that.
No, it absolutely does not. What a first game for Sean Miller. And I actually love this. I love that Texas is taking on Duke. I don't know about in Charlotte, but I love that they're playing this game. And it's already getting a lot of national run from Dickie V on social media. Obviously, it's going to be the marquee game. So Texas starts football against Ohio State and Texas starts basketball against Duke. That is where you want to be as a Texas fan. And I'll tell you, I mean, the one thing about this game is Duke's going to be an awfully young team. I mean, this season. So I don't mind playing them game one. Now, if Sean Miller goes out and wins it, the expectations are out of control and not realistic. But if I was wanting to play Duke this season, I'd want to play him game one after Cooper Flagg, after Con Knipple, after Kaman Mulach, and all those guys are gone. And while they're still going to be a younger team because they bring in more high school freshmen than most. So it's going to be fascinating to watch. I think it's great for Sean Miller that he's jumping out there playing this game, because if you want to go out and be a Final Four level program, if you want to go out and recruit nationally, again, at the high school level, you're only going to take 2 or 3 guys a class. This is a game that you absolutely take, and it's going to be a great show for Sean Miller in game one. It's going to be a great chance to have a tremendous showing in game one. So I love that Texas is playing this game, Jeff, and I'm sure you agree.
100%. And we'll see, we're still a ways away from the SEC schedule getting announced to see what that's going to look like for Texas. But, Gerry, as far as the non-conference goes, you've got this neutral site game with Duke. You're going to go play in the Maui Invitational, which the Maui, it's not the strongest field we've seen for the Maui, but maybe that means Texas can get in there and do some damage. You've got the return game against UConn, which will be up there this year. Out of that marquee non-conference home game, though, Gerry, the SEC-ACC Challenge is going to be a home game for Texas this year. If you remember, last year they played NC State on the road. It's a to-be-determined opponent, but, Gerry, if you're going to get a non-conference home game that's a marquee game for Texas fans, that one's going to be it.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine playing Duke and North Carolina in the same year if it was North Carolina? I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying it's possible. So that would be awesome. The other thing with NC State is, since NC State's in the Maui Invitational, there's a chance Texas plays them there. So I don't think the return game is going to be NC State this year. I think it's going to be a different opponent. Who that opponent is, we'll find out. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Texas schedules the rest of their home schedule. Because as you said, Duke is in Charlotte, UConn's in Stores, and then you're in the Maui for 3 games. And that's already 5 games of your 13 non-conference games. So you're almost you're 38% through the non-con. Then your ACC Challenge will be a home game. Then you're 6 of 13 in. And then there's going to be probably 5 teams that are going to be ranked in the lower half of basketball.net. So that is going to be interesting to see who else Texas brings in. They're going to have to bring in one more marquee opponent to make the home schedule have a little balance before SEC. But I really like where the schedule's headed, because it's Duke and it's at UConn. I think those are great marquee games for Sean Miller in year one. Now, UConn was already on the schedule, but the teams in the Maui, for people who haven't seen that, it's Arizona State, Boise State, Creighton, NC State, Seton Hall, USC, and Washington State. So there's not necessarily a blue blood in there this year, but it's interesting because Will Wade, first-year coach at NC State, obviously Bob Hurley at Arizona State on the hot seat this year, Eric Musselman at USC. So there's some marquee coaches along with Sean Miller. But Texas has a quality non-con schedule. It's never going to be as good of a home schedule as the fans want it to be. It just doesn't set up that way, because you're not going to beat yourself up in non-con before playing 18 SEC games. Now, that's just not going to happen.
But Jerry, I think you'd agree with me. You could put together a navigable home schedule without scheduling teams that are, let's say, in the bottom 30 or 40 of a Ken Palm rating.
Yes, yeah. You need to have 4 games that I think are anywhere from 125 to 250, right? To where you get your battle tested, and you get to build your team, and you get to play your rotation a little deeper, and you get to develop those guys while also not playing a game that could be, if a team comes in cold that's ranked 340, it's 38-9, and then what are you really getting accomplished?
Yeah. By the way, Jerry, just for whatever it's worth, you mentioned 125. Just throw that out there as maybe an arbitrary number. Number 125 in Ken Palm last year was NC State, who you played on the road. So at least you know, hey, it's somebody that you got to at least show up for and roll the ball at. So I like that idea of non-conference scheduling. Jerry, let's talk about this Texas roster real quick. Workouts have started. We know Lucina Traore is getting back from the knee injury. You've got Simeon Wilcher trying to get the confidence back. Well, so far, and it's early, but what do you feel like the big theme is for where this team is right now early in workouts?
Well, I think Texas really likes what they've seen. I spoke to somebody over the weekend. They really like what they've seen so far. And it's a weekend, and it was more individual stuff. The team stuff, some team stuff started this week more so. But look, I can't. 2 things were mentioned to me specifically. They think Matas has a chance to be a really good player. I think he plays hard. He's got a motor. He's got physicality. He's got really good hands. He can play over either shoulder. He sees the game really well. He has a good feel for the game, and his conditioning is getting better. He's getting stronger. He's got to learn to play without fouling as much. He had a very high foul rate in his first year in the States playing college basketball. But he's going to be a guy that plays combined minutes with a Lucina Traore, or possibly somebody else. We'll get to that later in the show. But I think what they've really liked what they've seen from Matas. I think another prevailing thought is they think Wilcher is going to be a much better shooter than what he showed. 29-7 from 3. I mean, he shot 41% in limited attempts as freshman year, limited attempts. So it's a very small sample size. I think the feeling is that 36 to 38 from 3 is probably more what he's really at. Once he gets that shot selection, once he gets more confidence in that shot selection, now with more experience, I think that's a big thing. And I'm not comparing him as a player, but Milo Suzanne shot 29, 6 or 7 at Oklahoma 2 years ago. He goes to U of H, he shoots 40%. So you guys can make a big leap in 1 year, 3rd year in college. Maybe it's just a change of scenery. Maybe it's better shot selection. Maybe he fits better with the parts around him. It can be a number of things, but that was a prevailing thought is Texas believes, and they wouldn't have taken Simeon Wilcher if they thought he was a 29% 3-point shooter, by the way. They think he's going to shoot it a lot better than he did last year. The other thing I've heard is they really like where John Clark could go. They like that frame, and they like his skill set. Obviously, trained with TJ Ford for years over at TJ Ford Academy. So they trained him to have guard skills and see the floor from a guard's point of view. He is a power forward, but I think they like where he can go. Nick Cody, I think, is the one that needs to make the big jump. They've liked what they've seen from Nick Cody, but I think him making the big jump can maybe take the team to another level. I expect Dalen Swain to play some guard in a big lineup, by the way. I mean, I think they think he sees the floor and understands the game on that high a level. He's got to shoot it better. Again, him and Wilcher shooting it better from 3, I think may be the keys to this team next year in a lot of ways. And I think Kendall Weaver offensively is going to be a much better fit in Sean Miller's system. Does that mean he's going to go average 15 a game? No. But I think he's going to be a better fit, have more plays going towards the basket, more plays on the move. And I think that suits his game. He's not an isolation basketball player or sit in the corner and take the 3 with 4 seconds left on the clock. That's not his game. So I think he's going to unlock a little bit offensively with Sean Miller, and he's just such a high-level competitor. And then Louis Obior, the big 7'1" kid from London, will not get to campus till August. He's finishing up all his schoolwork, paperwork, and that sort of thing. He will not get to campus until August.
Jerry, real quick on Wilcher, it's worth repeating. Rick Pitino is not going to go on the record in front of a live microphone saying he wants a guy to shoot more if the guy's a bad shooter.
That's right. And that Rick Pitino wanted him to take more threes last year. And I think Wilcher got into a little bit of, I want to get into my mid-range game and passed up a lot of really good shots. And then what happens when you do that is then he took a lot of tougher threes is what he did. So he passed up higher percentage shots at times last year. And I think that was Pitino's like, hey, look, you're a better shooter than this. I need you to shoot more of these because that team was struggling from the three. So the key there for me with Wilcher is, does he take that next step in the recognition this year? If he takes that step in the recognition of what Pitino was trying to get him to do and what Sean Miller's going to want him to do, you're going to see a better shooter than 29.7 from three. I don't have any doubt about it. He's more talented than that.
We'll get to one final roster note. We'll do that on the other side after we hear from our sponsor for this edition of On Texas Basketball. Here's a word from our friends at Advanced Pain Care.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. And Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
It may have been in high school, but just keep in mind, VY and Colt could both hoop a little bit back in the day. Jerry, Texas has 2 scholarship spots left for this coming season. Are they going to use them? And if they do, how will they apply those scholarships?
They're going to use one for sure. And I'm not sure they're going to use both. It's getting late in the game. We're just sitting here on June 11th. It's getting late in the game. So they're going to use one. And for a while, it looked like it may be another guard. But I mentioned they want to play Dalen Swain at guard in some big lineups this year. I think Texas is leaning to another big man, as crazy as that sounds. So there's a chance Texas adds another 6'10", 6'11", 7-foot guy to the roster. I mean, I guess can't have too many of those, right? And look, when you think about it, it makes sense, though. Most college teams play 4 guards. They rotate 4 guards, right? Florida did last year. U of H did. Now Alabama plays one more different style of play. But most of your college teams are rotating 4 guards and maybe have a 5th guard as a minor role player. So if your 5th guard in a big lineup as a minor role player is Dalen Swain, even though he'll play 30 minutes a game, the rest of his minutes will be as a small forward wing, then that's kind of your 5th. And now everybody's like, well, guys were hurt last year. Well, that's for anybody. I mean, if Walter Clayton and Denzel Aberdeen had gone down this year, Florida's not winning a national championship. That's anybody. You got to stay healthy. But it makes sense because it's normally 4 guards that play the bulk of your minutes, and you have 5th guy as a minor role player. And so then when you think about the bigs at Texas, you have Matas going into year 2, but you have Traore coming off an ACL. Okay, so you didn't take him thinking he would still be injured, right? But will he be somewhat limited? Will he be able to play as many minutes? Will he be the same physical rebounder in traffic that he was coming off the knee? And then you have the younger guys like John Clark and Nick Cody. Are they going to be ready? And Louis Obior was taken as a guy who's going to redshirt. He's a guy that's a year away. So he's a purely developmental guy. So let's just say there's a 6'10", 6'11", 7-footer out there that could be an impact player for this team. It actually makes some sense.
Can I ask you the Fran Fraschilla international question that always comes up whenever he's following the draft? Is Louis Obiora, Jerry, a year away from being a year away?
That's a good question. I think he's really a skilled kid. I think he's got really good feet. I think a college strength and conditioning program is going to do a lot for him. Not that they don't train over there, but he's also growing in. I mean, he's grown fast, and he's 19 years old, and he's legitimate 7 foot and I think 5'8" on a visit to Texas. So I think after a redshirt year, he'll be an impact player. I'm not saying a starter, but he'll be an impact player. I think he's too skilled not to be.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Nike rep for Texas this year when they get that equipment order. Going to be a lot of tall sizes, Jerry, a lot more tall sizes than Texas has submitted for in the past.
KD's going to be like, how many of those 18s and 19s do you need?
Definitely gonna be something to watch, see how all this unfolds and what becomes of one of those last 2 scholarship spots. Gerry, thanks for the knowledge and expertise as always. Thanks to Matthew behind the scenes. Thanks to the entire On Texas football staff and to our sponsor for this edition of On Texas Basketball, Advanced Pain Care. Make sure you're subscribed to the On Texas Football YouTube channel. Make sure you like this video. If you're not a member over at ontexasfootball.com, get over there right now. Gerry posted some workout notes early in the week. We've got basketball, we've got baseball portal, all the football recruiting, and we've even got softball. We had Mike White on Coffee and Football on Tuesday. So whatever's going on in the 40 acres, we've got it on the site. Use the promo code OTFOG. That's OTFOG. That'll get you 1 year of access on ontexasfootball.com for $39.95. You don't want to miss any of it. For Gerry Hamilton, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for tuning in to this edition of On Texas Basketball. And until next time, hook 'em.